Restoring broken lives needed today, teaching to live and to forgive. Restoring broken lives with Jesus Christ.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Conversations with Coach, coming to you live from Lafayette, Louisiana. Well, actually, Maurice, Louisiana. I am so excited about our guest tonight, and I'm going to introduce her. Before I do, you know that we are Women of Worth Ministry. Ministries are part of Restoration Center Bossier International Ministries, where our Apostle Thomas Eugene Keys Jr. is our pastor covering my husband, our guest, Dad, gave you a little hint. But I'm just excited about tonight. Just quickly, tonight is, guess what? This month of April, let me get it back together. Thank you. This month of April is actually African American Women's History Month, everybody. And because we're talking about don't fumble your mental health, we're talking about social work. The first social worker was Mary Church Terrell, mother of social work, not just as an African American woman, but as a woman, just period, was the mother of social work. And I'm just so excited to talk about her first African American woman to get a degree from Oberon. I'm just excited so many things that she did. She started the NAACP. She was the director or either the organizer, let's say the visionary of the NAACP for women.
The national, not the NAACP, so she was a part of the NAACP.
Right.
She was one of the founding members, but she also was the creator of the national organization for colored women.
Wow.
For Negro women, I apologize.
Exactly. Gave Black women a voice. And then she also went on to work with just social work in general, didn't she?
She was a huge advocate for social justice, which is one of the pillars or the values of social work. And so that's what she did. She gave her whole life to serving her community. She was a teacher. She met her husband teaching in a community in Washington, D.C., and she was very, very passionate about African American people having equal rights to education.
And I did say the correct university, right?
Oberlin College.
I said Oberlin. This New Orleans accent. Say it again for me.
Oberlin College.
And
she was also one of the first African American women to receive her master's as well.
Hallelujah. And guess what? That is just the perfect segue to my personal social worker, Celeste Keys Jackson. Heard the keys. Yes, this is my daughter. I am so excited, Celeste, that you are on tonight. Oh my goodness. Before I just get too excited, I always ask our guests, first question is, tell me something about you, Mrs. Jackson, and also give me your credentials. Your mom, I always get them wrong.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. I'm Celeste Keys Jackson. I am a licensed master social worker. I also have a provisional license as a certified family life educator. So I love working with families. I love working with children, and I love mental health. Some things about me. This is my mother, co-pastor Simone Keys, and I'm married to Brandon. And I'm just excited to be here.
I am so excited for you to be here. And our theme tonight, as we said, don't fumble your mental health. And I know that is a broad term, but can you give me something just about that statement, the importance of don't fumble your mental health?
Right. So mental health, that is such a buzzword right now in America, especially in the African American community. Because a lot of times when we talk about mental health, we don't talk about it in our community. It's something that's kind of hush.
Taboo.
It's very taboo. So we just don't discuss it. And a lot of times when we don't talk about mental health, then we're not educating, the generations behind us about what's going on in our families. And so when I'm saying don't fumble your mental health, it start having those conversations. How are you feeling? And then asking again, how are you really feeling?
Oh, wow.
And just having that quick checkup with myself. How am I feeling in this moment? Am I okay? Am I not okay? And then how do I feel about that all in itself?
So when the people say, I'm all right, a lot of times they're not all right.
No, a lot of times we're not all right. And it's so easy. I'm a social worker with Lafayette Parish Schools. And I actually had a session with someone yesterday, and she just automatically, I said, well, how are you doing? And she said, good. And she wasn't good, but good is easy. It's easy to tell somebody, I'm good, or I'm fine, and we're really not feeling that way. And so if we can't be truthful with someone else, when it comes to our mental health, the first person you have to be truthful to is yourself.
That is so, so good. That is so good. Well, I know right now, in the midst of social media, we have so many things going on. We are talking about the war internationally. We're talking about the Trump trials. And then right now we have what's happening. Let me move my cue card, you all. We have the NBA basketball playoffs, the NFL draft tonight.
Mm-hmm.
We have the race for the Stanley Cup. The WNBA draft just ended.
Yes,
we got
it
the
did.
boys of summer with baseball getting ready. We have the Olympic trials getting started. And the race for the Stanley Cup in hockey. All of those things are going on right now on social media, besides other stuff with Ministries and the shows that's on and happening. And people say, I'm getting anxious, I'm getting anxiety, I'm having an anxiety attack, I'm getting depressed, I'm stressed, and I realize we tend to use those terms as a generic trademark.
Right. We live in the WebMD world, right?
Google,
we have
Google.
access to all these words that I use in practice every day. So I'll hear just a 6-year-old say, "Oh, she's bipolar," and
right,
they
yes.
don't know what bipolar means.
Exactly.
But the first thing they say is, "Oh, my teacher bipolar." No, that's not what that means. Or somebody that's very type A, they'll say, "Oh, she's OCD." Right, and so we hear these diagnoses because that's what they are, and we're kind of just like throwing them out like they're jargon.
Got it.
So I kind of want to talk about that, but you mentioned something. You said, I'm anxious, I'm stressed, I have anxiety, and so all those words really mean different things.
Got you.
Okay, so we have stress, then we're anxious, and then we have anxiety. Okay.
Please, yes, break that down for us.
So stress. Not all stress is bad. Okay, we have something called eustress. Eustress is good stress.
Okay.
That's that stress that you have right before a test when you're like needing to study and you're like, okay, I want to make a good grade on my test, so I'm going to study for my test. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
That's that stress that kind of puts us into gear. So eustress is good stress. You want to have a certain level of awareness.
Okay.
Which is what eustress would be, awareness of what's going on around you, right?
Got it.
Or think about, like, I just got married. Someone that I'm getting married and it's, 20, 30 minutes beforehand. You're stressed. But
yes.
It's not because you're stressed because something's bad's going to happen, but it's because you're in anticipation. Okay?
Is it the adrenaline?
It's the adrenaline. It's those same, what's the word I'm looking for? It's those same chemicals in your bloodstream, same things in your brain that's working.
Okay.
To make you feel that way. Okay. Because so your body still feels that same heart palpitations. You still feel the clammy fingers. You feel the butterflies in your stomach. That'll be your eustress, right?
Okay. Your eustress.
But then you have toxic stress.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Or stress that goes into being anxious. Okay, so this is when we start seeing individuals, especially this was heightened after COVID.
Oh my goodness.
Where I don't want to go to the grocery store. I'm only gonna get my stuff delivered. We're now 3 years post COVID, and I still have people that's like, I refuse to go grocery shopping because now we've gotten to the point of anxiousness where we were separated from so many people. Now when we go in, we're claustrophobic. We don't know what's going to happen.
Yes.
So now it's becoming toxic because we're avoiding those places that used to be a norm for us.
Freak out when somebody starts coughing.
Exactly. Then you have anxiety.
Yes.
Okay. And anxiety is an actual diagnosis in the DSM-5. It is something that you have to go to a social worker, a psychiatrist, a licensed professional counselor for somebody to actually diagnose you with that mental illness. Okay. So having anxiety is an actual diagnosis. It's almost like meeting someone with diabetes or high blood pressure.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
So
it explains it. Okay, not the same thing.
So be careful speaking into existence because a lot of times we'll say, I have anxiety or I have OCD. And we know as Christians that as we speak things into existence, then we start manifesting that into ourselves.
Yes.
And so we'll see, especially into children, we'll see a child that's not anxious at all, right? They're just a little skittish. Some kids are like that, right? And you'll have people say, oh, she's so anxious.
Get her tested.
She's so anxious. She's so anxious. She's so anxious. And after a while, we're speaking that so heavily into that person's life that once I meet them, usually around 7 or 8, I'm doing assessments and I'm noticing that you are anxious. Now I'm seeing the traits of anxiety, which is an actual diagnosis.
Got it. Oh my goodness. And depression?
Same thing with depression. Saying that I'm depressed or being sad is different between having major depressive disorder, which is the actual DSM-5 or DSM-5 TR diagnosis, which you have to meet certain level of criteria. You have to be in a state of depression for multiple days. It's a lot of different things that you have to say, check, to say, okay, I believe this person has major depressive disorder. And then it may be mild, it may be moderate.
Got it.
It's not just cut and dry.
Whoa, did y'all hear all of that? So we cannot use those words as a trademark. Y'all learned a new word. Genericized trademark or propriety. Let me do it again. Genericized trademark or propriety eponym, which means, like we say, all tissue is Kleenex. We call all diapers Pampers. You cannot call all of these diagnoses
exactly
as anxiety or so on, going on.
And like I said, it's really about speaking those things into existence that's not truly there. Now it's a difference between speaking something into existence and just taking awareness of what's going on, right?
Right.
So it's one thing if you observe. Let's talk about ADD. We hear about ADD a lot.
Exactly.
You were a teacher, right?
Yes.
And so you can see the difference between a child that does have the impulsivity, right?
Oh, yes.
Or they can't sit still or they can't focus, because in order to diagnose ADD, it has to be seen in 2 settings, right?
Right.
So it has to be seen at home and at school.
Not just a teacher saying.
No. So if you're only seeing it at school and you're not seeing it at home, then you cannot diagnose ADD.
Gotcha.
It has to be seen in 2 settings for that child, right?
Right.
So we may actually see it in 2 settings and we'll say, okay, that we're observing this, that child has ADD. However, it's completely different where, like, most African-American boys or just boys in general.
Got you.
They're running around, they're playing, they're doing different things.
Getting into mischief.
That doesn't necessarily mean that that's what's going on.
I got it. Mrs. Jackson, you have given us so much information in this short of time. I am excited. And it's a blessing to gather information because we walk in the unknown so much. There were some points you wanted to touch on tonight. And I wanted to give you that opportunity to do that right now. You spoke about different hotlines. Just talk to us freely, please.
Yes. So many times in the African-American community, like we were talking about, saying the word mental health or, just saying that I do have a diagnosis. I am depressed, right? Or I do feel anxious, like going back to that analogy of the grocery store, right? We have these moments where we feel like we don't have anybody to talk to.
Yes.
And one of the things that is even more taboo is when we don't have anybody to talk to, when we don't have anybody to share with, that is when we worry about suicidality.
Oh, talk to us about it.
Because we become lonely.
Yes.
Right? And one of the things that a lot of people don't understand, we have this picture of what depressed looks like, right? They're the person that's sitting in their room, it's dark, they're not talking to people, they're withdrawing. But that's usually not what I see on a daily basis when I'm saying, okay, this person has suicidal ideation. Usually it's the person that is the life of the party.
Wow.
Right? Everybody's talking to them. They always have a smile on their face. They're always encouraging everybody else. They're the person that tries to get everybody to be happy around them. They're everybody's emotional support. But one thing we realize with those people is if I'm emotionally supporting everybody else,
yes,
I'm pouring everything out of my cup.
Yes.
Where am I at?
Ooh.
And it's so.
Oh my goodness.
Right.
The giver could actually be the person that's depressed. Wow. Usually.
And that's why we want to make sure that we check in on those people that's our quote unquote strong friends. Got it. Those people that, you know, we say, how are you doing? And the first thing they're always saying is, I'm fine.
That's it.
And it's always, and you could tell, I'm fine.
I'm fine. I'm fine.
It's
Oh
what
my
or
goodness.
I'm good. With
I'm
a
good.
smile.
I'm good.
Those are the people that we wanna look for. And so if you feel alone, and it's one thing about being alone,
Yes.
having a feeling of alone and actually being alone.
Wow.
Somebody can feel alone in a room full of a million people.
But they're feeling alone.
But they don't feel like anybody is on their side. I know that I gave the producer the number 988 is the number for the National Suicide Hotline. If you ever feel like you don't have anybody to talk to, call that hotline before doing anything, because we want you here. No matter who it is online, we
Yes.
want you to be here. We want you to be living life. We want you to live life more abundantly.
Yes, we do.
As the word
Yes,
of God
we do.
says.
Yes,
and
we
so that is so important. And I want to mention that's why therapy is important.
Yes, please talk about therapy.
Again, we don't want to, in our community, don't tell everybody our business, right? But a lot of times therapy is so cathartic because it's somebody that doesn't know your business.
Got you.
Right? It's a virtual stranger, but they don't have a place to judge because they don't know your mom or your dad or your children, or the people that you work with. So, and if anything, go through that outlet to somebody to talk to. There is people that are on Medicaid. You have options to still go to a therapist.
Yes.
For individuals that work a full-time job, see if they offer EPA services, which is employment. I just had it and it lost my mind. But an EPA is where your job will give you 6 free sessions.
Wow.
Okay, it's Employment Assistance Program, EAP.
Got it. Okay.
EAP. Get those 6 free sessions because sometimes you just need to get some solutions and just somebody to talk to. Your insurance is paying for it anyways. Take advantage of it.
What is the youngest age that you recommend someone to see a therapist if they're going through just a whole lot? Do you have a recommendation or just to sit and talk to a social worker like yourself?
I mean, trauma doesn't usually have an age.
That's right. That's right.
And so I can give a number, but when it comes to trauma and just life is lifing for people at different ages.
Got it.
And it just depends on the people that you have in your area that have the specialty to work with children. Some people will not work with anybody younger than 4. But just look around, and as a social worker, reach out to your United Way in your area because they can help you get in touch with somebody to help your child.
That is amazing. Remember, I said we walk in the unknown. There's help out there for us. Good people that love to do what they do, that would just spend time talking to us. As I said, Jesus in therapy is not a sin.
It's not a sin.
Not a sin. Not a sin. Not a sin. God is so good. And before we end up, this conversation has been amazing. Is there one thing you want to tell us? Because I mean, it's just 6:48. Give one thing that you want to tell us.
Take a mental checkup of yourself.
Okay.
I try to do it daily, and it doesn't have to be anything serious. I do it in my car, on my way to work.
Yes, God.
How are you feeling? And be honest. I don't want to do this today. Okay, I don't want to do this today. That's okay. And then give yourself grace.
You heard that? Give yourself grace.
Because out of everybody in the world, you have to be your own best friend.
Okay. That is so much. Again, did you hear that? At the end of the day,
you have to be your own best friend.
That's right. And sometimes that's why I just send people songs in the morning. I might sing Good Morning, Gorgeous. Sometimes I have to encourage myself because sometimes you just need to look in the mirror and start talking to yourself and encourage yourself.
And that's what David had to do when he was in the cave and he was depressed. He had to encourage himself in the Lord when he was by himself and he was feeling that loneliness. They had all these soldiers around him, and yet he still felt lonely in his situation. And he had to encourage himself in the Lord in that moment because where else was it going to come from?
That's right.
Take that mental break, take that moment, and then give yourself grace.
Grace is the key word. She said it again. Give yourself grace. Take care of you. Hallelujah. And just like she said, like the man in the Gadarenes, he was tormenting himself. He was tormented by demons and voices. they called Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
They called Jesus. He needed some therapy. He needed some help. He needed a healing.
Mm-hmm.
I thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
being on tonight. As I said, this is my daughter. This is my heart. It's just thank you. Thank you for spending time with your mom.
Thank you
For spending time with your mom. Do you want to say one more thing before we go out?
No, if anybody needs anything, or if you ever need to reach out to someone, please reach out to that suicide hotline and just connect with us so we can connect with you.
Well, I'm going to say again, I'm excited. I'm hyped. Listen, get ready we're going to close out this segment. Don't fumble on this mental health. Apostle Keys is in the house with his saints on. He just go wave to us really fast.
Who that?
Hello.
Hello.
Y'all didn't answer my question.
Hmm.
What do you do when you have a breakdown and you don't know what to do?
What do you do when you have a breakdown and you don't
You say
know
you
what
do
to
the mental checkup in the car, but what if you have a negative mental checkup in the car? What do you do then?
A negative mental checkup, and you feel like you're gonna have a breakdown?
Yes, what do you do then?
You stop, especially if you're driving. You stop on the side of the road. You call 911 and you take care of yourself because you're your number one priority at that moment and your safety.
All right, good.
Thank you. Listen, tonight, you all, I'm just in tears, with excitement. Listen, please join us on May 23rd at 6:30 for our next conversation with Cole. Our author is Latoya Mosley, and she will be speaking on her book, The Girl Who Made a Difference. A young lady that was being bullied at school. This just flows straight with don't fumble on your mental health. So we're going to say thank you tonight. Thank you for being on.
Oh, goodness.
No yellow lists, no flags, don't fumble on your mental health. And guess what? We're getting ready for the draft. We're not trying to be biased, y'all.
Oh, you got mine.
But we are.
Who that, baby?
Who that? Yes. Thank you for joining in on Conversations with Cole with Celeste Keys Jackson. Again, take care of you.
Take care of you.
Give yourself grace. Jesus is the answer. Therapy and Jesus is not a what?
Sin.
Y'all heard it.
It's
from
not.
here.
No, it's not.
I'm
Good
joking.
night.
Restoring broken lives.